So you're going to get your dough balls frozen. When you get it delivered, take those frozen dough balls out of probably the burger boxes that I've sent them in, because that's all I could get at the moment, and just put them into something like a baking tray or something like this. Cover it in cling film. You don't want to leave it open to the elements, otherwise it's going to start to dry out. Leave it, if you've got children, you're going to do this for children, 2 days, 3 days, just leave it in the fridge. And if you come and have a look at this, Michelle, this is what it's going to look like after probably 3 days. This one is probably 3 or 4 days. The longer you leave it, when we make our pizzas, the more air you're going to get into it and the more lighter it's going to be. However, the downside is the longer you leave it, if you're going to be using it with children, the softer the dough is going to be, and it's going to be quite difficult for them to use. So if you've got kids, 2 or 3 days should be okay. If you're adults doing it, you can leave it for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, even 7 days. Won't be a problem. Okay, so let's do dough balls. So using a little bit of your semolina, you can come and have a look, Michelle. We don't need to see my handsome, gorgeous face now. We can just put a bit of semolina on the worktop. Okay, and we want to get this dough out. Okay, so try and use like a knife or something. You could even clean off one of your credit cards. I've just got a dough scraper. You get some dough, some flour rather, and just sprinkle it on if you've got a join between the dough, and then just cut down in between and separate it. Or if you've got it stuck to the edge of the pan, just separate it. Try not to disturb the dough too much. The more you disturb the dough, the more it's going to like push together. So I'm just going to sprinkle a bit more dough into the pan and onto my thing here. So I want to get underneath the dough and get it out in one piece without squishing it together. So come and have a look at here, Michelle. Now all we're going to do is we're just going to try and come underneath without losing its shape, pulling it out, and we'll put it down onto here. Okay, now let's get this out of the way. If we're going to do dough balls, this one whole dough is going to give you 20 dough balls. So why don't you just cut it in half, put half back in, and just use half of it, and then tomorrow night you can do something else with it. We're going to do dough balls with the garlic butter that I've supplied. Okay. However, tomorrow you could do, or the day after, you could do dough balls. Maybe do it with garlic mayo. Just get some cheap old garlic, some cheap old mayo, and then just roast 2 or 3 cloves of garlic in the oven, 25 minutes, something like that, wrapped up in tin foil, and where it goes really nice and squidgy. Squeeze them out, mix it up with the mayo. Got a beautiful little dip there. Yeah, cool. So let's cut this dough in half. So I only want to use half of it tonight. We're going to put that back in the tray and we'll cover it up so that we don't get any air to it. So that's when it all goes, dries out and horrible. Okay, so all you need to do now, just put a bit of flour over it so we're not sticking to the table. Yeah, make sure you obviously wash your hands first. Make sure your worktop is nice and clean. Yeah, make sure it's not wet. If it's wet, you're going to put flour on it and you're going to turn it into glue. So just cover your dough, and then all we're going to do is just pull it out, roll it, and just pull it out like this. Let's get this out of the way. Beer whilst you're doing it. Have some wine, have some fun, but not the kids, obviously. So here is your dough. Okay, so don't make them too small. Don't make them too big, because the bigger you are, the longer it's going to take to do. So probably about 2 fingers, something like that. We're just going to cut them through, cut it through, cut it through, all the way along. So something along the lines of that. There you go, exactly 10. Yeah? What else can you do with it? You could get some of the mozzarella that I've supplied you with and just shove a couple of them in there, make it into a ball, When we do the dough balls, we don't actually do anything with it. We just cut them up like they are, and that now goes into the tray. So get your tray out the oven. So make sure your oven, whatever your oven goes to maximum, whack it up maximum. Get a tray in now, get it as hot as possible, and then when you put the dough in, it's going to rise as much as possible, okay? So I'm going to put these, I'm going to do anything with them, I'm just going to chuck them into a tray, into the oven, and we'll work out how long we need to cook them for. So yeah, let's pause the video and I'll come back in a few seconds. Okay, so the dough balls have been in the oven 10 minutes, okay? Our oven goes to 250 degrees, so whack it right up full, get your pan in, get it nice and hot. About 10 minutes, somewhere around there. I'll put them in for 5 minutes, took them out, I turned them over, put them back in again. Don't keep opening and shutting the door because you're going to let all the hot air out. So 5 minutes, spin them over, back in, okay? And here they are. So here's all your lovely dough balls. And all I've done is I just took one of those dough balls, where are they? Here, and I just cut it in half just to check what it's like inside. So it should be nice and doughy, but it doesn't look like raw dough. Yeah? So there they are. One dough ball, absolutely amazing. Nice bit of garlic butter. Oh, beautiful.